welcome everybody to this episode of E-commerce Deep Dive. On the call today, I have Kyle Olson, our Director of Strategy at Orca Pacific. This is a little bit different format from our usual shows, and this will be a repeating episode. So going forward every month, we're going to be putting out Amazon insights and updates from the previous month. So this month, we're going to be focused on August 2020. There's a lot that's been going on the Amazon front. So we're going to cover front end, advertising content, back end, different operational issues and updates. So it should be a good kind of update for everybody to make sure they have the latest and greatest Amazon news and updates. So without further delay, Kyle, welcome.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. Great to have my inaugural episode going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's just kind of jump into it. I know you have a list in front of you. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess let's jump right into Q4. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with, Prime Day being pushed back this year. It's hard to believe we're only a couple of weeks away from the official start of Q4. And yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces going on there. So, I guess just to jump right in, a couple big pieces that we're seeing across the board are some ongoing backlogs at Amazon's FCs, and there's a couple other kind of functional changes that are coming from this, but just pretty widespread reports of issues with pickups, drop-offs, Amazon changing delivery times, really causing quite a bit of headache at the client level for us, just with not being able to get items in stock and ready to go, despite orders being cut and things being in transit and things like that.
So Kyle, is this on the 1P retail side, or is it on the marketplace side as well?
We're seeing it on both, actually. So delays in processing FBA shipments, for example, and then more so carrier issues and routing issues on the 1P side.
Got it. And do we think this is just generally related to the kind of surge in demand on the platform since COVID?
Exactly. I think it's a combination of that and just normal capacity issues that we tend to run into year to year in Q4. I kind of suspect that the reason Prime Day was pushed is to try to spread that out a little bit because of the rise in the shift to e-commerce as a result of COVID. Amazon's been struggling and making quite a bit of strides, but still playing catch up to that demand. And I think there'll be a bit of pull forward in certain categories with Prime Day kind of taking volume that would have normally just been Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So I kind of suspect some of that's trying to spread that out. But I think it's a lot of those variables kind of coming to play here, just with, again, everything that's kind of going on in the ecosystem today.
Got it. Yeah. And I would assume we would expect this to continue really through the remainder of the year.
Exactly. Yeah. And it does seem pretty location specific. So, this week, there's a certain FCs that we're hearing the most about. And that seems to be changing kind of on a week to week basis as they catch up or start routing elsewhere. And then, another one on the other side of the country gets bogged down and things like that. So I think it'll be an evolving piece really probably through the rest of the year, depending on how quickly Amazon can catch up.
Got it. All right. What next?
Yeah, I mean, aside from that, it kind of relays into the next point where we're seeing some requirement changes on seller fulfilled Prime, as well as more of a push towards just dropship in general, whether that's fulfilled by merchant, seller fulfilled Prime or not, and direct fulfillment on the 1P side, which seems like a clear push to try to offset some of those capacity issues or concerns. Really just trying to push sellers or vendors on the site to own more of that process, get ahead of those potential inventory issues, just supplemental coverage if things sell out quicker than usual, but just much more communication. And we've seen just in prior months, trying to get vendors prepared and sellers prepared to be equipped to do that and have that set up in advance of, again, kind of the peak swings going on site.
Yep. No surprises there as Amazon anticipates kind of a double whammy of Q4 combined with COVID e-commerce shift. So makes sense. I would definitely recommend all brands have a diversified strategy when it comes to getting product to customers, not routing everything through an Amazon FC in Q4. So, all right, makes sense. What next?
Yeah, I mean, another nuance that seems to be relatively new this year is advanced purchase orders. So Amazon's always kind of pushed on the 1P side for bulk buys, staged orders, typically at a discount for certain amounts of volume, helps plan ahead, helps with forecasting, all of those kind of obvious pieces. But one difference this year is that we've seen a pretty big decline in those normal bulk buy requests and an increase in just normal purchase orders that are 1 month, 2 months, 3 months out. So really with all of the other pieces that we talked about with demand rising and things like that, Amazon's really just trying to lock in inventory even without a bulk discount, which seems to be a fairly big shift in how they've handled just bulk and stage buys in the past. And that's been going on for probably a couple of months at this point, but obviously augmenting the further we get into Q4.
Got it. So what are brands kind of requesting these? Are they being notified ahead of time, or are they just a PO shows up Monday morning that's for a month out and for 5x the usual quantity?
Yeah, it's pretty much the latter. I mean, they're kind of just coming through with windows, a month or two out. There's certainly dialogue going on for vendors that have a vendor manager, items that are being, having marquee deals on Black Friday, like a deal of the day or something. That's still kind of the normal dialogue. But yeah, a lot of just getting these POs dropped without any significant foreknotice that they're looking to buy bulk in advance. And then kind of final piece, just with relative Q4 peak issues, a lot more rollout of different types of compliance enforcement. So this really came to a head with COVID, with the rush to get, hand sanitizer on site and a lot of things like that. They're continuing to push just various levels of compliance and things like that. I think literally yesterday or sometime this week, similar requirements for pesticide-related products, and really just getting much more refined with any sort of regulated product and compliance issues to try to get those documented up front, as opposed to letting things flow on site and having issues happen downstream, which historically has been a bit of list it and figure it out later approach, if that's appropriate to say. And I think, they've also seen suspensions in Amazon's dangerous good program, where some of the onboarding for that type of product, again, hand sanitizer is kind of the main one, but other disinfectants and so forth, putting holds on those at this point. I think there's a mad dash to get a lot of those on site just for, the needs of society. But because of the rush and kind of the bandwidth it takes to get those listed and do so in a way where, Amazon's confident it's legit product, it's not going to be price gouged, it's not going to be, ineffective. That paired with everything else happening with Peak, that program's been put on hold. So we're kind of getting past this point where some of those. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Is this all hazmat related stuff? Is it all dangerous goods compliance, or is it electrical? Is it other compliance issues as well?
Mostly hazmat, kind of dangerous related products.
Got it. Okay. And what do brands do about this? Like if they have, legitimate product that is hazmat, are they just stuck for the rest of the year, or is there a way to get this product on the site? Like how should they be reacting to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're already established in those categories, there's a path forward. They're not going to remove you. If you have contacts, you can work through those or kind of leverage documentation that you've shared for other products. If you're trying to get into those net new in Q4, I think there's going to be some big hurdles to do that until those guardrails are lifted.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense. Good to be realistic about that. All right. So those are a lot of the kind of Q4 peak stress issues that we're seeing. Do we want to kind of pivot and get into a different category?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple developments on sort of the advertising marketing side that I wanted to touch on. A lot of pieces are moving there pretty quickly, just with Amazon in general, as they double down on that side of their business. But the first one I had is updates on Amazon Posts. This is a newer program that sort of syncs up, social media options within Amazon's ecosystem. It's currently free, and I think underutilized by a lot of brands out there. But they've updated that program in the past month to have additional features where it's just a little more robust and measurable. Historically, those posts can be linked to a single ASIN. Now you can tag multiple ASINs in a given post. Able to schedule them in advance, where previously it was kind of you create it when you want it to go live, and really expanding the metrics. Before there was little to no reporting. Now they're building out more metrics, more tracking, measure conversion rate, things like that. So really just building up that program, trying to get more adoption. And we've seen a lot of success there for clients that we're able to kind of lean in. And even if it's just leveraging content that you've already listed on Facebook or Instagram or something, but just leveraging it for Amazon, because it's free, it's another incremental traffic driver. My guess is they're going to continue to build off of that. They may, add a fee or some sort of additional structure to it in the future, but I think we're still in that early adoption phase. And again, just seeing that program scale up pretty quickly since they rolled out a few months ago.
Yeah, free traffic drivers do not come around every day on Amazon. So definitely something to take advantage of. Is it available for all brands, or is it just certain categories? Is it invite only? How does that work?
I believe it's available for all brands. I could double check that, but I don't believe it's in a closed beta at this point.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's been an interesting program. It's kind of an interesting next step to for Amazon to get a little bit more closely tied with social, with influencers, with kind of more ground up sourced content. So awesome. What else on the advertising marketing side of things?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen brand stores start to be merchandised much more on site as well. I think Amazon is continuing to push those to be a source of, really in that same vein of what you just mentioned, better, I would say, just browsability, as opposed to coming to Amazon to just have a product in mind, you buy it, you leave. Using it as more of a, not necessarily like social media website where you're hanging out all the time, but using it as more of a discovery engine. And I think brand stores really fit into that kind of mindset. So what they started to do is essentially include brand store links specifically in their search box when you're typing in a keyword or a brand name, kind of auto-populating it to go straight to a store as opposed to just a search results page. So another way they're pushing traffic to brand stores in a way where just it can augment what brands may be using that brand store for, which is really a fully contained environment for their brand specifically. No ads, nobody else stealing those spots. Very high impact from that perspective, and again, just an indication of Amazon pushing more towards that on the road through search.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we've known for a while that brand stores were going to be increasing in terms of importance for brands, because as more of them got built up and there was a kind of critical mass of actual content there to merchandise, once that happened, and it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg issue, but once that happened, Amazon was going to start driving more actual awareness and organic awareness to brand stores. So this is just kind of another step in that direction. By the way, I mean, we'll kind of make a prediction here, but I would assume that we'll see brand stores being merchandised more and more on the platform in organic ways. So, showing up in actual search results, et cetera. I think there's a couple ways that are incremental, even in the last 3 months, where customers can find them more easily. So I think Amazon is very much kind of doubling down on this concept. So definitely an important element of the site. It's also free, like Amazon Post. So something that brands should definitely be taking full advantage of. Kyle, anything else on the advertising marketing front?
Not too much. I mean, there's a couple of developments that are in process still. So similar expansions to Amazon attribution, which we're using more and more, but nothing, big that I want to call out this month on that front.
Yeah, or at least that we can talk about publicly. So, okay, good
Right.
to know. Anything else? Any other updates that are worth going through?
Yeah, I think a couple on the operations side are worth bringing up. One being just a continued standardization on the content front. I think a lot of sellers on the platform and us as an agency focus a lot on content, on SEO, but Amazon is getting more prescriptive with what they allow as content on site, specifically in things like titles, where they have a very specific format or sequence of what pieces go into a title, how it's built, brand, SKU, adjective number one, et cetera, et cetera. They've had this in play for probably a couple of years at this point, rolling it out category by category, but we're seeing it roll out more quickly across other categories and enforced more strongly. And it's causing a bit of headaches for brands that are trying to publish new content, or maybe were caught off guard where they weren't prepared for a change happening in their category and trying to get those titles essentially fixed or back how they want them. So the way that Amazon handles content updates where they essentially take feedback from all sellers of an ASIN and determines what they think is best, adds another unique variable here, where you can't just, go in the past and be like, this is our title, this is what we want, and have that show up on site. There's much more complexity to it now, and this automated title sequence program is just adding another layer to that. So, we're seeing some challenges there, just delays in getting content on site in that regard. So something to definitely be aware of as that continues to evolve.
Yeah, good to know. And I know that traditionally the 1P side has been much more restrictive than the 3P side. Is that still the case? Is it still kind of uneven there, or are things more normalized now between the two sides?
It's a little more normalized. I would say, just from my experience, we do see more challenges on the 1P side still, but definitely those have scaled to 3P. And I think, again, the shift in taking feedback from multiple 3Ps and a brand registry brand and what you have in 1P, for example, and basically they're combining all of that into one piece of content that they're picking pieces from all of that. It just adds a layer of complexity where it blends both sides a little bit more.
Got it. Okay. So something that's impacting brands on both sides of the fence. Great. What else?
Yeah, I mean, last thing on my list is just kind of resurfacing in some cases of Amazon's quote unquote one vendor program. So brands that work on both 1P and 3P, we've long heard of some potential major shifts there. We've seen inconsistent enforcement of, essentially pushing certain brands to 1P or to 3P and basically kicking them off of the other one that Amazon chooses. We've seen that pick up more so with kind of top tier vendors over the past couple of months, with some higher profile ones really recently. We see that continuing to expand. I think the timing is very interesting because in a way that's limiting selection or participation going into a peak season. So I don't know if this is indicative of big things to come this year or just a continuation of the trend that we've been aware of for quite some time. But we have seen that pick up, very noticeably over the past month or so.
Yeah. No surprises there. If anything, it's taken a bit longer than I think we expected for this to pick up steam. But at this point, basically, if you're a high affinity 8-figure brand on the platform, national brand, definitely don't assume that you can run a hybrid strategy. Even if you're doing that today or planning on doing it in the future, it may not be up to you. And I think we're seeing that happen more and more where Amazon's saying, if you've got to pick, or not even you've got to pick, you are a 1P brand, and we have made that determination, and we're going to enforce that. So definitely something for the mid-sized, larger brands out there to be aware of. Kyle, this was great. I think you were able to pack a ton of insight into a short amount of time. So we're definitely going to be doing this on a monthly basis going forward. So for anybody who's gotten value out of this, expect to hear from us again in about 30 days, and we'll keep the insights coming. Kyle, thanks again for being on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John. Looking forward to doing this again.
Sounds good.